Hello and welcome to a Complete Games computer thing. Today we're going to be building my new workstation and I'm going to be going over the parts that I've chosen and why. And a few of you asked if I would share the PC that I'm using to edit my videos on. And to house all of these awesome parts that I've chosen, I've got this Corsair icue 465X RGB case. Yeah, there's going to be plenty of glass and flashing lights on this one. My motherboard of choice is a socket B550 as I'm using the Ryzen architecture, and I've gone with a Gigabyte board because I've used them for the longest of times and I really do like their BIOS layout. And for the brain of this computer we're going to be using the AMD Ryzen 7 3700X, boasting a whopping 8 cores and 16 threads with a max boost of 4.4 GHz. Can't wait to see what this can do. And here's my motherboard of choice, the dark Aorus from Gigabyte, a reasonably priced board with plenty of features that I'm sure I'm going to be using. Some of the other things that come in the box, of course, of the user manual with the drivers, which I won't be using. In fact, I won't be putting a CD drive in this build. You also get a funky looking wireless antenna, but we're going to be going with Ethernet as that's where it's at. Also get a few SATA cables and I added some stickers and warranty stuff. Again, I won't be putting any of that on the case. Storage wise, I'm going to be using an M.2 1TB Western Digital Blue. I am going to be using some of my hard drives from my old PC and some of the parts which I can, but there is more room to expand later on. Let's start by putting the M.2 drive in. It has these handy little heat sinks, just clips in and screws in quite neatly. Quite an easy installation, and it also comes with its own thermal pad. Just a case of slotting that in there and screwing it back down. I've got one more expansion for another M.2 drive when I can afford that, and I'll probably go for something a little bit more than just the 1TB, but that's more than enough for the operating system and the things that I'm going to need for now. And here's what's going to be the brain of the computer, the AMD Ryzen 7, which comes with its own cooler, and in hindsight these coolers are actually very well made and put together. They even have RGB lighting and plenty of cooling there. Much better than Intel's stock coolers that you generally get in their packets. I generally just throw them away. And there it is, the Ryzen 7 3700X CPU that's going to be working hard on all of my future projects. And onto the installation of the brain of this computer. It's just a case of lifting up the retention clip and placing the chip down on said plate, with the arrows pointing to the correct corners. Very easy. And for the memory, we're going to be going with 32 gigs of the TridentZ RGB Christmas tree stuff. Now, I haven't deliberately gone for all-out RGB on this build, but this RAM was at a very good price and is extremely fast. So placed correctly for proper quad channel support, that's the RAM installed. And the aftermarket cooler of choice I've chosen is the Be Quiet Dark Rock Slim variant. I've chosen this because I haven't had much luck with water-cooled AIO coolers, with pumps failing over the years, and I do find them to be quite noisy, so I'm going to give one of these Be Quiet series a run, see how that works out. And I must say I like the dark coating. I think it's going to go with the aesthetics of the build quite well. And hopefully at the same time it's going to be quite quiet, as it can be picked up on my microphone when the fans kick off. Inside the box you get an array of parts for both Intel and AMD. They even chuck in a little bit of thermal paste, but I'll be using my ASUS 455 cementing paste that hasn't let me down. And how much do I use? Well, enough is how much. There's only 2 retention arm clips to tighten on this cooler, so I evenly do them just a little bit at a time on each side to ensure the cooler comes down on that chip at a nice pressure. And onto my fingerprint magnet choice of case, the Corsair Mid Tower. And I've gone for this, largely the fans that come with it are pretty much as expensive as the case. And I wanted to go for a mid-tower build. It also has a magnet mesh that's going to make this case a lot easier to clean than my previous one, or at least I'm hoping so. There's also a magnet mesh on the front here, and I'm hoping that no dust is going to be able to get through these fans. Let's put these assortment of goodies inside. On closer inspection in this case, there are a large amount of wires to cable manage, 6 in all from the 3 fans at the front, and I'm going to be putting another RGB fan extractor at the back. So there's going to be quite a lot of cables to manage here. And that's precisely why I've gone for a fully modular power supply, going with, again, the Corsair 750 Modular TX. And yeah, it's a 80 plus gold platinum. There wasn't that much choice in the UK in terms of power supplies at the moment, a little bit of a shortage, but I do trust Corsair. They are a good company and I've used their products many times before. This case already had the standoffs for an ATX motherboard applied, and the motherboard itself had its back plate applied, so the installation was much easier. I approve. On to fitting the power supply unit. And I'm also going to be putting a couple of other hard drives in here. I'm using my older Western Digital Blue 1TB hard drive and my Samsung Pro 50 Evo SSD for a little bit of extra space, giving me some headroom for those videos. GPU wise, I'm also going to be using my Strix 1080 from my previous build. In late October, the 30 series graphics cards will be coming out, and I'm hoping to be able to pick up a 3070. Yeah, Molly's getting a little bit upset that I've shifted her bed out of the way. I best give her a bone and say, hang on and wait. Back to cable management. And that's the cable management all done. And you may think, well, shouldn't you have tested it first, James? Well, I like to live on the edge. Let's give it a try. And there you go. The exact look I was looking for. It looks like a Christmas tree on acid, and of course them lights are going to make it go faster. And here's one of the reasons I like the Gigabyte motherboards. I do like the way their BIOS is laid out and how we can tweak different things. There's a load of options in here that I'll probably never even bother using, but they are quite simple and easy to navigate. So it's on to testing some games. And what better game to start with? Of course, a bit of classic Monkey Island. And as you can see, the Ryzen 3700X is barely even breaking a sweat. And can you believe that Tomb Raider 2 is not even dropping a frame? Absolutely wonderful, not even breaking a sweat. Okay, enough joking around. We will use 3D Mark's Firestrike as a real benchmark to test this machine and its new capabilities. Here's the score from my previous rig. A respectable 1300, but adding this Ryzen chip has literally nearly pushed this score up to a 20,000 points. Incredible, and I'm sure with further tweaking I can push that further. But the real reason I've selected AMD is down to the video rendering score. As you can see, my previous score was abysmal, but now video rendering and visualization score has gone up to over 12,000. And it's going to be making my projects a lot easier, saving me a lot of time, and in some cases some of my ARC videos were taking up to 3 hours to render. So all in all, I'm very happy. So there you have it, that's the Complete Games workstation build, and at the end of October I hope to be able to put a 3070 series graphics card in there, making this one unstoppable machine. I'll leave you with a little bit of city skylines, and for the first time I'm going to be using a photorealistic LUT and turning all of the settings onto ultra. Not one frame was dropped. Enjoy.